My name is Brett Franklin. I started coming to Fitness on Fire. I followed my family over here. My son Elliot was playing basketball at Pacifica Christian High School, and then he tore his ACL and did a lot of his rehab afterwards here. And then eventually my wife and daughter started training here, and then I came next.
Do you remember our first meeting together?
I think I do, yeah.
And like the couple of goals that we talked about, right?
Yeah, early on.
The first 4 months that I've worked with you, we've exceeded like these expectations, right? And I feel like it gave you a lot of self-confidence within yourself. And I think that you understand the role of what fitness can really do for you.
I hadn't really worked out for 10 or 15 years, really. So I was intimidated to get back into the gym. And then I met with Josh, talked to him, and he said, I'm gonna sign you Richie. And I think Elliot, Elliot had been working out here since his Pacifica Christian days. You knew Elliot, I think he knew you or met you. And then I think from the first day, I was just interested in your knowledge, and you immediately started teaching me things.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't intimidating at all from day one.
My goal as a coach is always to, help educate you and kind of just like rewire that mindset. Yeah. I remember there was this book that Josh introduced me to. It was Own the Day by Marcus Aubrey.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really helped me with my coaching style, because I wanted to introduce you to certain habits and then build on those certain habits. And remember that first habit I've introduced you to?
The lemon water?
Yeah.
And I think other than maybe one day, I've had 20 ounces of water with fresh squeezed lemon since I started. Yeah. And now I can't get up in the morning without doing it. But I remember the first time you told me, you said, okay, I want you to drink 20 ounces a day with lemon water. I'm like, okay. And so I think from the very beginning, you were like educating me, teaching me things about not just the exercise part of it, but diet and just life stuff. Yeah. So it was good. Habits, new habits.
Yeah. And there was an important concept of like this book, like how you start your day will dictate how the rest of your day will go. I wanted to introduce you to certain habits within your morning, and including you coming in here, and putting in the work. So really it was introducing the habit of drinking lemon water and then maybe eliminating processed food within your mornings. Like, for example, you used to be a big cereal eater, right? And now it's like
not just mornings, mornings and nights. Right?
But really just replacing certain habits of yours and throughout your day, right? And introducing better habits, right?
Yeah, but what was interesting was it wasn't really a struggle, because it seems like it happened kind of organically. So by starting something simple like the water, and then pretty soon, without even really thinking about it, I wasn't thinking about these other foods or other. The other thing I eliminated immediately was fruit juice, because I knew it was extra sugar. I liked it. I like cranberry juice. I would guzzle that stuff. Yeah. But I said, you know what? Now with the water, I don't really crave it as much. I'm getting the hydration. Yeah. The other thing I remember from the first day you told me was that we get dehydrated at night when we're sleeping. And so that if you can drink the water in the morning, you can get the hydration back in your body, and that made a big difference.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what really helped accelerate your progression, right? It was these little habits throughout the day. You feel it too, right? So when you go out through your day, I feel like it's helped with stress management. You're able to be focused more. You have way more energy. I think with those little steps, it really propel you into where you're at now. Do you remember the doctor visit that you had? I think it was probably like 6 months ago.
A year ago, I had gone in for my annual physical, and he said, you're overweight, your cholesterol's bad, and there was no good news there, really. He said, you need to make some changes. And it wasn't really a news flash for me. I knew all the things, but I didn't know how to do it. And so, I went home, talked to my wife, and my daughter was right there too, and they just said, you need to start working out. 5 years ago, Elliot's basketball team, Pacifica Christian, was working out here. So he was working out here, and I heard about it. I talked about how great the gym was and didn't think it related to me at all, but I said, it's great. And then later, my wife and daughter started here, and they liked it. And so they said, you need to get going. And I was always in this cycle of, when I get into shape, then I can go get into shape. I'm not going back into a gym until I'm at some minimum. And that was never going to happen. So finally, they pushed me and said, you need to go. And I never had any problem, paying for or club basketball, soccer, volleyball, and that stuff for my kids and family. But I just never got around to me and to getting in shape again. And so it was great. I'm really happy that they did. They told me to come down here, and I was a little nervous.
I feel like you're a man that gives a lot. You do a lot for your for your family and friends. I know we talked about this before, but we get so fixated on the thought or the action of helping people out, but we tend to forget about ourselves.
My wife and I always joke about it's like on the airplane when they say, when the oxygen mask drops, the adults put yours on first and then help your kids. So sometimes we'll joke, say, maybe this is one of those times where we need to put the mask on ourselves so that we can be there and help our kids.
And I always say, hey, sometimes it's okay to be selfish, dedicate some me time, right? And this is the perfect place to kind of dedicate some time for yourself, to really work on yourself. If something ever happens to you, like it affects your family, right? Even the way you live, right? The way you process your emotions, the way you go to deal with stress, it affects, the people around you. So I think that dedicated time for yourself will drastically improve the quality of life for, the people around you too, right?
The other thing I'm thinking back to when we first met was, it really impressed me was your background, as a veteran in the Army, and you had that command presence. And from day one, I was like zoned in on like, okay, Richie said this, whether you're sending me a video or saying I could read this, should read this, and then going home, I think my family kind of got sick. I was like, well, Richie told me this today. Richie, pretty soon, 2 weeks, I had them all drinking lemon water, and I keep bringing new stuff in. Okay, workout snacks. Here we go. Little steps along the way, and stuff that you taught me was really helpful.
And these are the habits I feel like, we should be doing for life, honestly. I remember one day Rosette texted me that you had to go to a doctor's visit because you had, I think it was a regular breathing.
Well, I know it was on New Year's Eve, and it was a chest pain. It turned out it wasn't my heart, but I didn't know. And so I went in, and they said, after they checked me out, they said, no, it's not your heart. It's just something I tweaked doing the workout or something. But they said, you're fine, but you might as well go into the cardiologist if you haven't been in 20 years or whatever. And I just got those results back, and it was all.
I remember you told me your resting heart rate was about 48 to 50. And that actually kind of shocked me because you went to the doctors. We were kind of expecting some bad news, and then you came out with some really good news.
Great news.
I felt proud at that moment because I knew that the work we were doing, it was really showing, right?
The thing that's really been good about it too is, for me, is that it's so gradual. I wasn't like trying to set some crazy unattainable goal. You were putting little goals there, and I didn't really think about it. And because the exercises we were doing were changing up day to day, week to week, so I wasn't, it wasn't routine. The rest of my time, in my 20s and 30s and 40s, workout wasn't a big deal. I'm young. I can do whatever I want, and I'm probably going to get some result with no knowledge, But then as you get a little older, it gets a little tougher. And so, and I realized I needed some instruction. So
I think that the method and the training style that we've been doing for almost a year now, it's simple. It's nothing extreme. And when you adopted this lifestyle, you didn't do any extreme measures to get you to where you're at now. It was just little habits built on over time.
Slowly. And it was simple stuff. We did push-ups, we did sit-ups, but in varieties. And we did, there was free weights, there was other stuff that I was familiar with, but a lot of things I had never done. I'd never used bands. I'd never done a lot of that stuff before. But it's like, hey, Richie says it's good for me. I want to try it, and it's worked.
And, everything that I say or have you do, I always have you do with a purpose. There's always going to be a purpose to why you lift this way or why we introduce bands, right? Part of my goal as a coach is to teach and educate you because I feel like today there's so much information out there, right? And we tend to get lost in this influx of information. But I want you to understand that the methods that we do is simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Truly. And
even starting sessions with balance work. Well, actually that's pretty important as you get older. You don't want to fall. You don't want to trip. That was an area that I didn't really, I was kind of skeptical that I was going to be able to improve my balance. But sure enough, little by little, just like everything else.
It's like reps. Right. The more reps, the better you get at, right? This week alone, I feel like we've made like strides. We PR'd, well, you PR'd on your bench and we PR'd on your pull-ups.
I did. When we started, I couldn't do a single pull-up and I did 10 today.
So I can remember, the goals that you set from the very beginning, we definitely meant that within like the first 3-4 months. And then now you're noticing your potential as what you can do physically, right?
Well, then I went back this week to the doctors and had the physical in a year, and he was shocked. I had lost 21 pounds. I'd my good cholesterol was high, my bad cholesterol was low, all the stuff, the blood work was all perfect. And I mean, I attribute it, by the grace of God for finding Richie and Fitness on Fire, because you guys did a great job. Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate that. I remember you spoke about your peers.
Oh yeah. I mean, just in my age group, I've had people some have passed away and others are struggling physically. So I'm really glad. I really felt it was kind of a now or never time. And I think my wife used those words. Yeah. It's now or never, I got to get going with this. And I'm just really thankful that I ended up here, because I don't have those aches and pains. I don't have back. I don't feel that stuff anymore.
And I always say, how you feel when you come in the gym, I feel like we should be grateful to be able to move, to be able to have a healthy body. Right. And actually using that, right?
I've never left saying, I wish I didn't do that. Right. Or that was a waste of time. Never.
Exactly.
It's always, boy, I'm glad I came.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I worked out.
And that's how it is, like nobody really regrets a workout, right? And just being grateful every day to really utilize our body to our fullest potential. I think that's like one of the best gifts, really. And a lot of us overlook that, especially like today. We've become very sedentary. Right. And people go throughout their whole lives sedentary, and they never really get to experience the fun of moving your body.
The thing that really surprised me was that I could do it, later in life. You think of, exercise or working out or improving yourself in physically is going to be just in those younger years. I had no idea where we were going to end up, but we've exceeded all the goals that we made together, and it's fun. Yeah. It's fun.
And honestly, it hasn't even been a year yet.
I know. Really. It hasn't. No, it's been eight months, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's like astounding to me. The fact that, it hasn't even been a year yet, and the strides that you made within this past 8 months, I think that's really inspiring for me. Even for me as a coach.
And it's really not knowing when we started where we're going to end up. I didn't really know. I came in here like, I'm just going to do what they say. Yeah. And see where we go. It's been great. Yeah. No, and I appreciate your knowledge and your experience, and you're always bringing in new information, and I appreciate that.
Like I said before, I wanna educate you, and honestly, I've learned so much from you too. I told you this before, but when I wake up in the morning and I know I'm training Brett, oh yes, all right, cool. I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. It's always good. It's always really good energy. When we both meet, right? It's funny. With my wife, I consider you as one of the homies. You're someone that I deeply respect. I appreciate our time together.
No, it's good. It's good.
I feel like it's
in between sets.
Yeah, right. I really value our relationship.
Yeah, it's been great. It hasn't even been a year.
Yeah, right.
It hasn't even been a year.
8 months. And that's crazy to think about, 8 months, and so much has happened then, And
I think that's what's been fun too, is to realize it's not just for a set time period. It's indefinite. We're just going to keep doing this, see where we go, see where we end up.
So the wheels fall off, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.